Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another video on ForgottenWeapons.com. I'm Ian McCollum, and today we have a cool unicorn gun of a revolver to take a look at. This is a Mateba, or Mateba, I've heard it pronounced both ways, MTR-8 revolver. Now, Mateba, or Mateba, is best known for their semi-automatic revolver designs, and this is the forerunner to those. And I think there are a lot of people out there who think that this is also semi-auto. It's not. This is a standard DASA, double action or single action, revolver. It is chambered for .38 special in this case. They did also make them in 22, 32, I believe it was 32 Smith & Wesson, and 357 Magnum. Now, the inventor was a guy by the name of Emilio Ghisoni. He was an Italian, born in 1937, and his father actually ran a manufacturing business that did I think mostly culinary equipment, like serious commercial kitchen machinery. And Ghisoni ended up working for the business when his father died at about age 20 and continued the business, became a mechanical engineer, and well, he was really interested in firearms. So he started designing some guns that the company, Mateba, started producing. Now this one, they only made about 500 of these total, in a variety of configurations, the 4 different calibers. They also made some carbine versions of the gun. Not very many. There's maybe something like a dozen of these in the US today, so they're pretty obscure guns. Now, of course, the interesting mechanical element to this is that the cylinder has been located both forward and down compared to what you would normally expect on a revolver. And that was because this was designed primarily for competition. And the idea was to reduce the time in between follow-up shots. So having a very low axis, the line of recoil is pretty much right in line with the top of the shooter's hand, and a very forward heavy weight balance. The theory is this helps keep the bore for the muzzle from climbing much with each shot. Now, unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to shoot one of these, and I can't take this one out to the range, so I haven't been able to test that out myself, but hopefully someday I will be able to. Now, there are a couple other interesting things about this, so let's take a closer look at it. Definitely an interesting and distinctive looking gun. Now we have some markings we can take a look at. So here on the right side of the receiver, we have the Mateba marking, and Mateba is actually an abbreviation, 2 letters at a time, for Meccaniche Termobalistiche. That's probably not pronounced right, but M-A-T-E-B-A, made in Pavia, Italy. And then there's a little bit more on the left side. This is a caliber .38 gun, as opposed to 22, 32, or 357, and it is serial number 84 in this case. And lastly, up on the front of the barrel, we have the Italian proof marks. An interesting incongruity with this gun is it's designed for competition shooting, and yet it literally has a 3-inch barrel. Because the cylinder is out this far forward, that's it for the barrel, 76 millimeters. However, barrel length, it does not correlate with accuracy in any mechanical way. As long as you have just enough barrel length to get the bullet spinning appropriately, it all comes down then to barrel quality. And a longer barrel does not make a gun more accurate. What typically does make it more accurate in practical terms is a long sight radius, because the longer the sight radius, the less margin of error there is when you line up those sights on your target, and the more likely you are, as a practical matter, to actually hit. And on the MTR-8 here, the sight radius goes from here all the way back to there. So it's got like a 10-inch sight radius despite having a 3-inch barrel. The front sight is a big square post there, and that drops into a square notch in the back. The sights aren't bad. Maybe not the greatest that they possibly could be, but not bad. The grip looks a little bit thin, but I think that's largely because of just the shape of the rest of the gun. It actually feels really quite good in the hand. Now, as a double action revolver, this is hammer fired, and the hammer is entirely shrouded back here. However, you have these 2 levers on each side, which allow you to manually cock the hammer to single action. And again, because the hammer is back here, but you have to have the hand up here to rotate the cylinder, that hand mechanism is all external on the gun. So when I go to manually cock the hammer, you can see it operating this mechanism and rotating the cylinder like so. Now the single action trigger pull isn't bad. Again, not great, but not bad. And then the double action trigger pull is actually quite long, but it's pretty smooth. It's a nice trigger pull. Now, one of the final unusual elements is the cylinder release itself, which is kind of like a typical revolver, but not where you would normally look for it because of the placement of the cylinder. There is a catch at the front right here. Pull that down, and then we can tip the cylinder out, and then this thing falls off of it. So if it doesn't fall off, if you have cartridges in it, you have an ejector rod here that is going to push this off the back of the cylinder. And this is your speed loader, which you cannot fire the gun without. This does not just hold the cartridges steady so it's quick and easy to load. It also acts as a spacer and holds the cartridges back from the face of the cylinder. So if you don't have this, the firing pin isn't long enough to fire the cartridges. Now, in order to load this, we're going to take this little plug, rotate it 90 degrees like so, and then this opens up like a clamshell. So what you would then do is load your 8 cartridges in there, close this plate over the back. We have holes here for the pins that line it up on the cylinder, and these holes are in line with the primers on the cartridges. And then you have your, you lock it back into place like that, and then you're ready to go. And when loaded, that's going to look like this. This is actually kind of cool. This holds cartridges a little more steady than most of the actual speed loaders I've used. There's really not much rattle at all in there. And then that drops right in like so. And to eject it, we just push on the front. That's going to pull it out far enough that we can remove it. Once you fire, this would take all of your spent cases out as a unit. So nice and clean, easy, and efficient. These are a little bit of a pain in the butt, slow to load the clips themselves, but once you have them loaded, they are very fast to load into the gun. So you can see the hand moving here as I start to manually cock the hammer. That finger right there, the hand, is acting on these alignment pins right here. And then there is a cylinder stop at the back right there, which is located up at the top of the frame. So if we look through the side here with the speed loader removed, as I cock it, you can see the hand come down, push on that pin until it has rotated one full notch and locked in position. The hand is now down until I drop the hammer, and then it retracts back up. In addition to the recoil absorption and the bore axis, one of the other mechanical advantages to Ghisoni moving the cylinder out in front like this is it decoupled the size of the cylinder from basically from the rest of the design of the gun. So he was able to make the cylinder larger in order to accommodate larger capacities. So on the 32, like I said, I think it was Smith & Wesson, the 32 design, which by the way was the MTB-12, that had a 12 round capacity, and the 22 rimfire version had a 14 round capacity. Then there were also some carbine versions of these made, and those had potentially even larger cylinders because, again, the size of the cylinder didn't really impact any of the handling aside from adding some weight. My understanding is the 22 caliber carbine versions could go as high as 20 round capacity in 22 rimfire. So the designer, Emilio Ghisoni, not only did this and the semi-auto Mateba revolvers, he was also responsible for designing the Chiappa Rhino, which is a gun that more people are familiar with. The Rhino is another revolver which attempts to mitigate muzzle climb, in that case by firing out of the bottom chamber in the cylinder instead of the top one. So that, of course, brings the recoil axis down, and another interesting revolver to take a look at. So a bunch of cool different stuff, all from this same designer. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2008, so we won't be seeing any new designs from him. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully I'll get a chance to take one of these out and do some shooting with it at some point. Until then, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for another cool forgotten weapon tomorrow.